Hello everyone and welcome back to the Misostudy.com, and in this session we are again discussing the important question from the NEET point of view, and in this session we are going to discuss the chapter that is excretory product and their elimination. So let's start the session and discuss the important question one by one. Let's discuss the first one. The first question from the chapter is, which of the following are metabolic wastes of protein metabolism? Option A, urea, oxygen and N2. Option B, urea, NH3 and CO2. Option C, ammonia, urea and creatine. And option D, nitrogen, urea and CO2. When we discuss about the question, we all know that nitrogenous waste are the substances that generally include the ammonia, urea and uric acid. These are actually produced during protein metabolism according to the species. And when we discuss about in the detail, we all know that ammonia is the most toxic, followed by urea, and least toxic is uric acid. Uric acid is what? Least toxic. We all know that creatinine is a product of protein metabolism, and these creatinine are stored in muscles. Its phosphate that is a creatine phosphate act as a store of high energy phosphate in muscles. As we discussed earlier that creatinine is stored in the muscles, so it also acts as a store of high energy phosphate in muscles, and also serve as to maintain the adequate amount of ATP. ATP is what? Adenosine triphosphate, and we all know that ATP is the source of energy. That source of energy is basically help in the muscle contraction. That energy is helpful in the muscle contraction. Next is creatine kinase. Creatine kinase These is act as a enzyme that is involved in metabolic breakdown of creatine to creatinine. This is involved the enzyme named as a creatine kinase. Creatine kinase play a very important role in this. So according to the discussion so far, the right answer for the question is option C. Option C is the right one in this case. Let's mark the right one in the option. Right one is option C, that is ammonia, urea and creatinine. As we discussed, ammonia is the most toxic and least one is the uric acid, and then we discuss about the creatinine that is stored in the muscles. So option C is the right one in this case. Let's discuss the next question from the same section. Next one is, which is not true about the uricotalic animals? They are exemplified by reptiles, birds and insects, etc. Option B, they spend least amount of water for elimination of excretory product. Option C, it is the most toxic excretory product needing prompt removal. Option D, uric acid is almost insoluble and can be eliminated in the solid state. So when we discuss about the question, we all know that uricotalic means the animals that excrete the uric acid, and we all know that uric acid is a more complex and need more energy in its synthesis, that actually energy when compared to the ammonia and the urea. When we compare the formation of, or we can say involvement of the energy that involves in the synthesis of uric acid, that is a far more better or far more than the ammonia and the urea. However, it is helpful in the various things, out of which first we discuss about, it is much less toxic than both the ammonia and urea. It is less toxic from both ammonia and the urea. Next one is, it is almost insoluble and can be eliminated from the body in a solid state. Hence they helpful in the saving of water in the body. For example, if we written it in a proper manner, then 1 gram of uric acid exertions need the 10 ml, that is milliliter of water. 1 gram of uric acid needs 10 ml of water for their excretion. Therefore excretion of Therefore, excretion of uric acid is more advantageous for animals because it helps in the conservation of water in the animal body, which generally helpful for conserve water, and that water helps in their survival. So it is generally excreted by the insects, some land crustaceans, also by some land crustaceans. The example of that is woodlouse. Other than that, secreted by some land snails. Example for that is helix, and also uric acids are secreted by some land reptiles. The example for land reptiles are snakes and turtles, and also secreted by some of the birds. So uric acid is the mode of excretion that is generally opted by the birds, land reptiles, land snails, crustacean, insects, etc. So according to the discussion so far, we concluded that the answer of the question is option C. Option C is the right answer in this case. Let's mark the right one in the option. That is, it is most toxic excretory product needing prompt removal. Option C is the right one in this case. Let's discuss the next question from the same section. Next one is proximal convoluted tubule is lined up by dash cells. Option A flattened, option B columnar, option C cuboidal with brush border, option D simple rectangular. When we discuss about the proximal convoluted tubule, also written as a PCT, abbreviated form for that is a PCT, we all know that the Bowman's capsule consists of, or we can say lead into the PCT. PCT is what? PCT is the proximal convoluted tubule. That generally lined up by, PCT is lined up by the cuboidal epithelium or epithelial cells. Cuboidal epithelial cells. More precise form is a cuboidal epithelial cells that generally bear a brush border. Of tall microvilli. These microvilli is act like a finger-like projections. They act like the finger-like projections, and these finger-like projections present at free end with the help of which they generally helpful in that for increasing the surface area for more and more absorption of the food, or we can say the reabsorption of the food. Cells having the cells which generally possess the cells having numerous, these kinds of cells possess the numerous mitochondria near the basolateral surface, which generally allows the reabsorption of salt. These reabsorption of salts generally include the active transport. Active means that requires the energy, and these energy are possessed by the or given by the mitochondria in the form of ATP. ATP is, again, we all know that ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So according to the discussion so far, we concluded that the right answer for the question is option C. Let's mark the right one in the options. That is, proximal convoluted tubule is lined by the cuboidal epithelial cells, that is generally brush border. That brush border is provided to increase the surface for the microvilli. Microvilli is a finger-like projections. So this is the right answer in this case. Let's discuss the next question from the same section. Next one is, in which part of nephron reabsorption of glucose is maximum from filtrate? Option A, Henle's loop. Option B, proximal convoluted tubule. Option C, distal convoluted tubule. And D is a collecting duct. We all know that PCT is proximal convoluted tubule and DCT is distal convoluted tubule. So when we discuss about the question, we all know that 65% of glomerular filtrate are normally reabsorbed in the PCT. PCT is what? PCT is the proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal convoluted tubule that generally reach the loop of Henle. In this, there is a presence of glucose, amino acids, vitamins, hormones, sodium, potassium, chlorides, phosphates, bicarbonates, water, and some urea. From the filtrate. These all are absorbed from the filtrate. These all are absorbed. Apart from that, some sulfides or sulfates and creatinine, some sulfates and creatinine, these are not reabsorbed. Remember that they are not reabsorbed. Not reabsorbed in the body. When we discuss about the reabsorption and the absorption, sodium and potassium are reabsorbed by primary active transport system, by the primary active transport system, and out of which the glucose and amino acids are reabsorbed by secondary active transport or secondary transport system. And out of all the options, water is reabsorbed by the process of osmosis, and there is a left with the chloride ion. These chloride ion, urea and the other solute, these are reabsorbed by the process of diffusion. So the filtrate is left with the isotonic. Osmotic pressure or concentration is same between both the solutions, that compared isotonic to the blood plasma. So till now the discussion conclude that the right answer for the question is option B. Option B is the right one. Let's mark the right one in the options, that is proximal convoluted tubule, that is a PCT, and we concluded that what solutes are reabsorbed and by which method or which transport system. For example, it involves the simple transport system, simple active transport, secondary active transport, osmosis and diffusion. So the right answer for the question is PCT, that is a proximal convoluted tubule. Let's discuss the last one from the same section. Next question is, ultrafiltration is determined by option A, glomerulus hydrostatic pressure, option B, capsular hydrostatic pressure, option C, colloid osmotic pressure of blood, option D, all of these. The solution for the question is, when we discuss about ultrafiltration, we all know that ultrafiltration is the filtration under pressure. And that generally occur in the Bowman's capsule through the tiny spaces amongst the cell. These tiny spaces are present among the cells of the capillary walls, and these capillary walls help in the filtration. Also, these kinds of cells are present in the filtration slits of podocytes. Filtration slits of the podocytes. Effective filtration pressure, that is the EFP, also written as a effective filtration pressure. Effective filtration pressure is determined by three types of pressure, out of which three types. It possesses the three types, out of which first one is GHP. GHP is also written as a glomerular hydrostatic pressure. Glomerular hydrostatic pressure. This pressure is the blood pressure in, this pressure includes the blood pressure in glomerular capillaries, and its value is 60 mm mercury, that is Hg. The next type for the ultrafiltration is option B. Next part is BCOP, that is also known as a blood colloid osmotic pressure. Blood colloid osmotic pressure. And these BCOP is it is defined as a osmotic pressure. It is defined as a osmotic pressure that generally created in the blood of glomerular capillaries, and its value is 32 mmHg, and its value is 32 mmHg. And when we discuss about the last one, that is CHP, that is the capsular hydrostatic pressure. It is caused by, it is the pressure that generally includes fluid occupying the Bowman's capsule, and that generally resist the filtration, and its value is 18 mmHg. So when we concluded the EFP, that is a effective filtration pressure, as we discussed earlier, it generally includes the GHP, that is the glomerular hydrostatic pressure, minus the BCOP, that is the blood colloid osmotic pressure, and when add to the CHP, that is a capsular hydrostatic pressure. And when we calculate about their value, we all know that when we discuss about the value, that it is concluded at the 10 mmHg. So EFP is calculated as a 10 mmHg. So according to the discussion so far, the right answer for the question is option D. Option D is the right one in this case. Let's mark the right one, that is option D, which includes all these pressure. This is BCOP, this is CHP, this is GHP. So this is all about the section excretory product and their elimination. Hope student you like the session. Stay tuned with the Misostudy for such more session. Till then, take care, stay safe, stay home. Thank you very much.